Okay, next is going to be presented by my friend and neighbor, Tim Harris. You've seen Tim as our cameraman here. Tim is going to tell you about the self-irrigating container invention of our inventor right here, and you get to introduce Rod, okay?
Sure am.
Here we go, please, Tim Harris.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim Harris. Most of you have seen me before, but I'm usually behind that camera right there. I'm here to present the self-irrigating container. This was developed by a gentleman by the name of Rod Zaki Khalil. If you'll stand up, Rod, say hey. So this really neat device, he approached Adrian recently, and they went through some sketches and some ideas, and out of that meeting came this, which you see they both share in their hands, a working model and a prototype. This was my job to create a couple of these things for proof of concept. So Adrian peeks his head over the back fence and says, "Dude, I need some help building some models." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Let's get into this thing." So now I present the problem. Beyond this beautiful sunset, we have personified what exists in many regions of the world. There are a lot of very dry and desolate regions of this earth, and people persist and live in these places, and they need a lot of help. A lot of conflict is generated through a lack of resources. And so, in these arid regions of the world, one of the most, unfortunately, common methods of delivery of water is this poor lady right here. Now, this may look like a Bed Bath & Beyond type of setup, but I'm sure it's not exactly that. This poor lady's probably got to hike a couple of miles to go to the nearest riverbed, stream, lake bed, or whatnot. And she's gonna fill up these bottles of water and hike a couple of miles back. This presents a problem. What she does is typically she's gonna pour this water onto a plant directly, and most of that is gonna evaporate. So what Mr. Khalil has come up with is a very, very effective and efficient solution to this problem. And it's like, duh, why didn't I think of this? Here's what I had in my backyard. This is the working prototype of the self-irrigating container. This is a couple of Arrowhead water bottles, and it basically illustrates the solution that Mr. Khalil has come up with. The parts of this is very simply, the basin is a reservoir which takes collected water. There's a perforated cone which allows evaporate to, water to move through this baffle. The cone is to funnel water into the reservoir, and the top container part is just basically a container. It seals the system. Now this brilliant design takes rainwater, typically. Of course you can feed this device if you want to, with this poor lady. It collects rainwater, and that rainwater is going to collect into the reservoir or the basin. Now what happens is this thing sometimes will, if you're lucky, overflow. And the device says, "No, I'm not going to let you go, I'm going to keep you," and direct you right toward the root bed of the plant. So obviously the holes in the side, you have a water overflowing here, and the holes in the side direct that flow towards the plant. Great. Now beyond that, what this does is it allows water to evaporate into a vapor chamber on the top. And as it evaporates, you get a collection of water droplets, which will eventually become large enough to collect and trickle down the side of this thing and flow towards these holes. Once it flows towards these holes, welcome to the plant. So instead of evaporating out of the soil or whatnot, we have a collected unit, a very efficient unit, and it directs the water where it needs to be. It's a drip system. It's a solar-powered drip system. It's very simple, it's very efficient, and it's easy to build. Furthermore, at nighttime, you have evaporate that's in this vapor chamber, and that's allowed to further condense. And that's going to condense into more water droplets, which is then trickled down back to the holes, and here you go. More water for the plants. It's meant to be used during dry seasons in very arid regions. So this project started with a pile of trash. Love a pile of trash because there's a lot of opportunity there. Now, I took 10 of these Arrowhead water bottles, thanks Adrian for the project, and cut them into a couple of different bits. It took 2 bottles, you can see 2 bottoms and 2 tops. It's that simple, just a couple of pieces, and I hot glued these things together to form a working model container, which, hey, there you go. There's a lot in the background here, but this is what it looks like. There should be a tube down the center to allow the rainwater to come down, but this is the exit tube, and you have the top portion which collects the vapor and directs it towards that tube, which goes to your very happy plant. And guess what? It works. This is the vapor chamber. You can see the water below it, but look at all that condensation. You can see some of the striations here where the water is collected to such a point to where it's come to droplets. And when it comes to these droplets, it's directed right towards that hole, right towards that tube. And obviously, that goes where it needs to go. So the plant is being fed, and I took a substandard picture there, but you can see right here on the left, there's a happy plant. And I chose a tomato plant, because tomato plants require a lot of water. So guess what? It works great. There's our happy plant. I've got actually 5 of these chambers feeding this plant. And again, our target market right now is NGOs and nonprofit organizations in these desolate and arid regions of the world. Obviously, that's our first target market. Those are the people that need the most help. But this is scalable. All we got to do is repeat it. Just do it a couple of times over. So I'll open the floor to some questions. I'd like to ask Mr. Khalil to come up and join me for a question and answer real quick. Questions?
Yeah.
Sir.
You run some proof of principle tests in the dry climate?
In a dry climate?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes, you guys don't understand. I just like to explain a little more. I'm sorry, first of all, of my English, because I'm foreigner. I just immigrated recently.
Excuse me, we're actually gonna be on short time. The question and the answer is, we're here in Southern California. It doesn't get much drier there. It is working in Southern California.
yes, sir. It is very dry here, and it's quite
Next
good.
question.
Sir.
Do you plan to make it only out of plastic?
Recycled plastic would be a preferable version. It'll allow us to bring the dollar amount down per unit.
Because the heat, when, plasticizers can leak out when, the plastic gets too hot. And,
The container is designed to be built underground to collect water and whatnot, so it'll actually have an insulation method there.
So it strikes me that it maybe if it leaves bacteria behind as the water evaporates, it may make potable water for humanity also.
It could. We have to test this.
Did you envision it as that?
Do you think this will be for potable water for people?
Yeah, of course, in disaster, when there is a problem, it is mainly for irrigation. It is mainly for irrigation, but in disaster, when there is a dry, when there is a desert, they can use it. Of course, there is no bacteria, because there is UV, the sunshine, it is open plastic, it kills the bacteria inside. But even if there is a bacteria, for irrigation, no problem. Maybe it is advantages. Excuse me, I just like to explain, this is not for a garden or for inside planets. This is, I believe, of course I am excited for my invention, but this is change the world. This is for desert, for big lots of area. For plenty, there is, the people, they are expecting wars because of fresh water shortages in the planets. All reporters, they say there is a war during the next 2 decades because of water. The problem is the fresh water is efficient, but they are not using it. 85% of the fresh water is going evaporated again. This is the system which is going to use the water efficiently for planet. It will change the environment of our planet. You know, this is giving more oxygen, reduce the dioxide in the air. There is a lot of advantage. Also, the recycling of the plastic, a lot of things, you know, desert phenomena will change. There is there is not enough time, of course, to explain all.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
There really is.